Hey, it's Candy. Did you know that I have a quiz to help coaches choose their niche? Yeah, I do. It's super popular and it has been taken more than 20,000 times. This is a fun quiz that takes you about 2 minutes to do, and it will probably give you way more clarity on choosing your best coaching niche. So now, whether you say niche or niche, it's going to work for you. And if you're a coach and you have been stuck in niche indecision, wondering what to do, then you should take my quiz and find out what you learn. You can take the quiz today at coachnichequiz.com. That's coachnichequiz.com. Okay, let's dive into this week's episode. Welcome to She Coaches Coaches. I'm your host, Candy Motzek, and I'm going to help you find the clarity, confidence, and courage to become the coach that you are meant to be. If you're a new coach, or if you've always wanted to be a life coach, then this is the place for you. We're going to talk all about mindset and strategies and how to, because step by step only works when you have the clarity, courage, and confidence to take action. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of She Coaches Coaches. I'm so glad that you're here. You know, every week I do these recordings and I think about you just a little bit. I think about the listener, who you are and what you're doing, and just wanted to say thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate that you take time out of your day. Maybe you're in the traffic on the way to work, or you're sitting in transit, or you're on the treadmill. But I just want you to know that I really appreciate you. And so let me introduce my guest today. I've got a very interesting guest. We have been swapping podcast episodes. So at some point, you're going to see that I'm encouraging you to go and listen to her show as well. But her name is Julie Foucht. Now, let me tell you a little bit about her before we dive into our conversation. So in the year 2000, Julie left a 20-year abusive relationship feeling lost and broken. As a partner in her husband's construction company, she left both her marriage and her income. She'd stayed because she believes she couldn't make enough money to support her 4 children, but was determined to find a way to create the life that she dreamt of. She dove into personal development and started her study of the energy of money. And then she quickly realized that her purpose on the planet was to get more money in the hands of more women. When women have money, they have choice. They can choose to stay or leave a relationship, a job, an area, or whatever is needed based on their highest good. They give to the causes they believe in, and they can live a joyful, juicy life that raises their vibration and the vibration of the world. For over 20 years, Julie has worked with women coaches, healers, and soul-fueled entrepreneurs to open their money channels and create soul-fueled, financially abundant businesses. Julie received her coach certification in 2006 and has built a 6-figure coaching practice that allows her multiple vacations a year, her dream home on the Central Coast of California, and lots of time to play with her grandchildren. She's married to the love of her life, has 4 children, 2 stepchildren, 2 furry babies, and 8 spoiled grandchildren. Julie, welcome to the show. I am so glad you're here.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so fun to get to be in your presence again.
Yeah, and I love in your bio this, this sentiment about when women have money, they have choice, they have freedom, they have autonomy. And you're actually the third person that I've spoken to in the last 2 weeks, some of whom I've interviewed on this show, who have a very similar mission. They had challenges and then they realized that this is the thing that will really make a difference. And so just wanted to, reflect that back to you. I think it's powerful. I think it's apropos. It's good for our times and good for the people that are involved here too.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
let's dive into money and the energy of money and our relationship with money. Now, I know you've given me some great questions, but could you, before we go down that route, maybe tell me a little bit about your relationship with money and your story and how you got here?
Yeah, absolutely. I was raised, I'm the oldest of five kids, and my dad actually said one day, he said, I wonder if I made a mistake. I raised my boys to get along in the world, and I raised my girls to be taken care of in the world. And so I grew up watching my brothers go out with my dad on construction sites, watching my brothers work at our family gas station, watching my brothers went with my dad and put chains on cars coming up the mountain, right? And my brothers always had these opportunities to make money. And the only thing available to me was I got to babysit. And it wasn't often, it wasn't that much. But I always had this thing about, man, I wish I could make my own money. I wish I could figure this out. Nobody ever taught me. And so when I married my high school sweetheart at 18, and went into popping out babies right away, which I don't recommend for anybody. Get some life first, learn about some things. Uh, he always had this attitude that it was his money. And he would actually say to me, I'm subsidizing your life. And it wasn't a great relationship. And so I had this longing to figure it out, but I didn't know where and I didn't have resources. And when I finally left the marriage, I knew I had to figure it out. And I think the first book I read was The Science of Getting Rich with Wallace Wattles, which is, you can download it online for free anywhere. Fascinating kind of door opening. And I started to study, but I also started to have conversations with the energy of money. And I'll never forget the day that I said to money, oh my gosh, I have so much debt. What am I going to do? And I heard in my head the sound of hands slapping down on a desk, like, listen here. And money said, I gave you a way to get the training and the business support you needed. Don't complain to me about it. And that made me look at debt differently, right? Just that. And I've had so many different conversations with money where I've come out of it and gone, well, holy cow, that's not what they teach us. That's not information that is given to the low and the middle class, right? Mm-hmm. That is something that everybody needs to know. And, money drops in. We have conversations all the time. I'll say this today because it's going in the bank Monday, but I have this whole pile of cash right now that we're going to use for a retreat for a photo shoot. And, I'm going to spend some time with that pile of bills after we're done with this. I'm going to smudge it. I'm going to have some conversations with it. I'm going to infuse it with some love. So my relationship with money today is that relationship of partners and friends versus something that I longed for that never had enough of. And I know now that money will be there for me. And I want women to have that feeling.
So you've said a lot of things, and there's sort of I have a whole host of questions. And so let me just narrow it down. The people who listen to this show, successful in their life, most have great careers, but they want something different. They want to become a coach. They want to do this thing that calls to them. And then they get this conflicted place. I really want to be a coach, but I don't know how to ask for money, or I feel uncomfortable charging for something that I love. You talked about the conversation with money. As a new coach listening to this, if they're in that, well, I really want to do this thing, but they're that conflicted relationship with money, where do you suggest that they start?
So the first thing is to understand the conflict doesn't belong to them. The
Mm.
conflict is something that the patriarchy and society put on us to keep us in our place, right? To keep us as factory workers, to keep the Industrial Revolution, which is completely over, but to keep the Industrial Revolution going. So the first thing is to understand that that conflict doesn't come from us, that there is a whole host of messages coming down that we can't get paid for our gifts. When the reality is, and a coach said this to me really early in my coaching career, really changed things for me. She said, when you undercharge or don't charge for your services, you are creating karmic debt for the other person.
Mm.
So when you are giving your services to someone, you are giving your energy, you are giving your healing to someone, then there's an energy exchange back that has to happen. And they exchange that energy in the form of money, because money is just energy.
Mm-hmm.
So if you begin to understand that if I give, I also need to receive, otherwise, I'm creating a debt for my person. We don't want that for our clients.
Yeah, and it's this imbalance. It reminds me of, I can't remember who said it, um, but I was listening to a morning meditation, and it was the you have to be able to inhale and exhale. You know, like as we breathe, there's the inhale and the exhale. We have to have both. We can't just inhale, 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 and never exhale, or just give, 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 exhale, 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 and never inhale. Like it's not life-giving. It's not even physically possible for us. So we're really working against the laws of the universe when we try to just give, 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 but never actually receive,
Yes.
receive at the same time, right?
Here's the other thing that money taught me is that the amount of money that I allow a client to pay me directly impacts the amount. It's like that energy coming in elevates the energy of what I'm able to give back out.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of it you can feel it. If you say pay me $20, you're going to go, this is a $20 call. I'm not giving as much. But there's some actual energetic universal laws that when someone pays you a lot of money, there's all kinds of other help that comes in to support you in being the best for them.
Mm. That's super interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it supports them. I mean, from a logical standpoint, too, they've invested. That means they're really going to pay attention. They're really going to, do their best work. They're going to make it a priority in their life as opposed to just that kind of thing that they put on the side, So from that standpoint, I can see that as well. Back to the role of patriarchy, and it reminds me that so often as an entrepreneur, we get stuck in this. We're used to getting paid by the hour or by the salary, but not as the result, not as the value, not as the level of exchange even. And so that's often a place that, I mean, personally, I find that's a thing for me too. I'm like, well, sure, it's not just my hour, but it's the cost of me having my business. But to still move away from that employee mindset of salary, or what salary do you make per year, per month, or what do you make per hour? How does that relationship with money, how do you feel that relationship with money impacts?
Yeah, I think that in a lot of ways that can really hold us back, especially for new client or new coaches who are used to making a salary. The other thing it will do is it will impact you in terms of your time. And I remember this when I first started, or even today sometimes. If my husband's home working from home and he works a job, and my husband is one of those people who just won't stop. He just like works way too much. So I'll come sit in my office. Now, normally I start at 10, I end by 3 or 4, right? That's my normal day, but I'll sit here till 5 because, work hours.
Yeah.
And I catch myself every now and then. So I think that's one way that we can break out of that is to say, wait, I'm not doing a normal thing. I'm not working normal hours. I'm not accepting what any patriarchal system says I am worth. The value that I provide my clients is they can, whatever it is, and actually look at what's the value. In my business, if I work with someone and it enables them to heal their inner child wound, to release some past life vows and contracts, and then to go build a 6 or 7 figure business that really sustains and fulfills them from a soul level.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's that worth in the world?
Oh, gosh, exactly. Right? Like it's priceless, really.
It's priceless. And so what I charge goes from being this huge thing to, oh, that's just a little part of the millions I'm going to make over my lifetime. And the same thing if you're a health coach or if you're a relationship coach, you've got to look at what is the value to my client first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you can go back and you can have a conversation with money and say, okay, money, tell me about it. And one of the things, and I'm sure you find this as well, that a lot of times new coaches will say, well, I don't know if people will pay that. I don't think my people will pay that. There's 2 things to keep in mind. First of all, you've got to earn enough money to stay in business, or you're not going to serve anybody for very long.
Right.
Bottom line.
Yeah.
The second thing is the people who are really meant to work with you, the people you are here to serve, they will find a way to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have paid for coaches at moments where I hadn't paid my mortgage in months and I was juggling, bills to keep the electricity on. But I went and found a way to pay a coach because I knew that is what I needed to change my situation. And so your people will find a way.
And there was something, I just don't want to lose the thread of the value to your client. When you consider the value to your client. So when I think of the value that a coach provides to a client, so your example, you help an individual heal inner child, they do the shadow work, they reclaim who they are, they become aligned to their life's purpose and the work that they're meant to do in the world. And then they go and they charge a dollar amount. And they might say, well, what's the value of that, right? And so I'm assuming that you do something similar with your clients. But what I recommend people do is actually grab your journal and write down, what difference did that actually make? Well, how did that change not just the business, but every relationship, every single thing that you do in your life? When your stress level is reduced, it impacts absolutely everything. When you've healed some of that inner work and then you're able to build a business that you know that this is the business I'm meant to have, the effect that you have on every individual, every client that you have, what's the value of that? What's the value of the person at the grocery store when you go grocery shopping, when you feel happier in your life? So it's not just that immediate, what's the value, but look beyond that first level, look beyond the, what's happening this week to this year, the next decade, the next, 25 years, what is the value of that growth? And that might help as well. So I just didn't want to miss that one point. There's something that I don't do and I'm fascinated with. I do have conversations with my higher self, my future self, but I never have a conversation with money. How do you start? How do you start having that conversation?
So, what I do and what I teach my clients is we drop into a guided meditation, center the same place you would go to talk to your highest self or to talk to your future self. And in that space, I then say, may I speak with the energy of money? For me, it usually shows up kind of like a wavy green, pink sort of energy there. For some of my clients, it shows up as a person. I had one client and money always showed up as Mr. Peanut. And I was like, okay, whatever resonates with you, that's fine. And then in the beginning, you want to get to know this energy. So often we think we can start by just dropping in and saying, okay, money, here's all my complaints. How are you going to make it better for me? But you treat it as a new friend. So, how are you today, money? What do you want me to know about you today? How can I use you to serve the world, money? What else do I need to know? And then I love this question, although it may not be a beginning question, it may be after you get used to it. The question of, is there anything that I'm doing that is blocking more of you coming to me? Mm-hmm. Because the amount of money you make is only limited by your ability to receive more. So I'm always looking at, where's my block around this? Does it even belong to me? In my family, my middle brother is called the golden child by my mother.
Wow.
Called him the golden child. And really there was this law about you don't outshine the golden child. So early in my money journey, money said to me, you got to release that rule. You've got to let go of that family rule, or you'll never be able to create the kind of business and income that you want, because I couldn't make more than my brother.
Yeah, like it was this unspoken ceiling.
Yeah.
And also a disservice to your brother, too, to have him be the fence for every person in the family, right? Like,
yeah,
that's pretty harsh stuff for a guy.
He's my brother has his own journey and his own stuff to deal with. I love him dearly. He is a hero, like a literal chose professions where he could be a hero, chose women he could be a hero. So it's just interesting watching that's the life he got to walk.
Yeah.
And that can I say that wounding experience of don't outshine the golden child is also part of the magic that helped me develop being a strong, powerful advocate for women and for what we're capable of and for the divine feminine.
There's so that's sort of a theme that we haven't really talked about, but it's been throughout the conversation. Challenges in your life, that those challenges were the spark for the healing that you've done, and then the healing that you help others to do, and the brilliance that you now bring, right? Like I think that it's not uncommon that we have our challenges, and those are our things to work on, and then often those are our things to help others overcome as well.
I like to call that your life education, or as a mentor of mine called it, your life PhD. We all are wounded as children. There's no perfect childhood, no matter how perfect your childhood was. There's something. But those wounds are really the places, like Rumi said, the wound is the place the light enters us.
Yeah.
The wound is the place where we begin to develop special skills and special abilities that we can then go serve the world.
Yeah. And the common place that I find for people who, have healed their wounds or are at least in the middle of healing their wounds, because sometimes it takes more than a day or 10 years, right? Is that it teaches us compassion. It teaches us that the compassionate, loving compassion, kindness to understand ourselves and to also accept the people in our lives, right? So
Yeah.
even though each of the external stories might look different, and they do, everybody's unique, everybody has their unique journey, but part of the recognizing the healing is that we become respectful, we become compassionate, we become kinder, and then we have the other work to do too. I appreciate you sharing about this, how to actually start to create that relationship with money. You've also shared some of earlier in the conversation more about how you actually talk to money. Is there anything that money wants to say here that hasn't been said?
Money's being very cheeky today. It said, well, finally, finally, you talk.
Sassy money.
Yeah, money wants everyone listening to know that it's actually not limited, right? We are taught that money is limited. It is an unlimited resource that is a part of source energy, that it is the energy of appreciation and love. And therefore, love can't be contained. That money wants to be part of your life, that money wants to be a partner, that money wants you to do good in the world. Money goes where there are open channels to flow. Now, if there's a lot of open channels and money can choose between going someplace where it's going to be in a higher vibration, it goes first into the higher vibrations. So one of the first steps is how do I operate in a higher vibration? How do I bring more good into the world? Because we see a lot of people with money who are doing things that maybe we can judge are not that good.
Mm-hmm.
And money will go there if the channels are open, but money really prefers those channels where we are being in compassion, where we are being in love. And one of the ways to open your channels of receiving is to say, how can I be more loving today? Not just to those around me, but to myself, to the planet, to the all that we all are, because we are all one. And so how can I bring more of that into my life? And then to know that money's gotten a bad rap as being the root of all evil. Mm. And that's not really what it is at all. So if there's one thing we can understand, that money is not evil, money is love.
Is there anything else that it wants to say?
Ooh, there must be.
Yeah.
By the look on your face.
Yeah. And I wasn't expecting to ask that question either. I actually have another question, but I'm like, wait a minute, something's not done.
Okay, money, what else do you want to know? Or do you want them to know? Money wants me to emphasize how much it loves us, it loves people, it loves being part of the play. And that, us as souls in human bodies, our souls come here to actually play an experiment. And it's okay to do big play. As a matter of fact, money loves big play. So it's not about I can make my bills. It's about I can make my bills and go to Italy and take my grandkids to Disneyland and live this juicy life. Right. And that's what money wants for you. It doesn't want, I made my bills this month, although that's a great place to start. It wants you to experience the full experience, the full experiment of what it means to walk the planet. And when you start to have that kind of relationship with money, money makes it happen. I don't even worry about it anymore. I'm just like, okay, here's the goal. Okay, money, how are we going to make this happen?
So fun. So, can you give us an example of a time that you played big with money and made something really fun?
I can give you the example of how I bought the house I'm sitting in. I had wanted to move into this complex for a while, and my husband, when we moved in together, he bought a house in town. It was underwater. We couldn't sell it for what we owed. And so I said to my girlfriend, hey, there's a unit for sale out there at Creekside. Can I just go? She was a realtor. Can I just go see it? Because I want to manifest living there someday. And I knew I needed to get, and we walked through this place, and she and my husband went, you could do this, and you could do this, and you could do that. And I kept saying to them, we're not ready. We're not ready. We're not ready. And finally, my husband said, figure it out. You're the manifester, figure it out. So I said, money, how are we going to do this? And it took us about 5 minutes to get home from here. And by the time we got home, Money and I had 3 different plans in place, put the first one in place, made an offer, had to come up with my portion of the down payment, which, I live in the Central Coast of California. That's not a little chunk of change because I had nothing saved. Closed escrow. I think we took 5 weeks to close escrow. And by the time that was done, and I had manifested all that money, I had also manifested the money to go into a 7-week remodel before we moved in. And part of that was because I knew that if this was the right place, money was going to support me. And money was like, do this, do this, do this, do this.
So, for the folks listening, notice the relationship, notice the back and forth conversation, the willingness to do the thing, came up with an idea, willingness to do the thing, even though you might feel a little nervous about it, but go with that. And there's a faith, right? Like there's in that partnership, there's money is here to support me and to help me create this. And if it's going to be, and I do the work, it will support me. So notice that faith that it will happen instead of second guessing and not making a decision and not really even putting your toe in the water and then saying it didn't really work, right?
The other thing when I think about this is that I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be here. I wanted the wilderness there because it's like acres and acres of wilderness. Like I'm looking out my window. I wanted, I wanted it a certain way, and I could see that. And the reason I bring that up is because right now, I really want a really great vacation, but I don't know where I want to go, right? So I'm having a really hard time manifesting it because I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And money's like, let me know when you know, and we'll figure it out, right?
I like it. And I'd love to hear when you actually get the vacation, like when you decide, and then when it actually happens too. Okay, let me just think here. I think we've asked all the questions.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I really appreciate this interview. I think that it's so much fun. I love that there is a relationship. I love that there is play. I love that the underlying thing here is get more money in the hands of good people. In your particular instance, women, good women who want to make a difference and live that life that's right for them.
Yeah.
For those of you who are listening, I know some of you are saying, I have to get in touch with Julie Foucht. How do I find her? So can you share with us how to find more about you, Julie?
Yeah. First of all, we run a Facebook group. My team and I run a Facebook group called Feminine Business Magic. So you can join us there. We do a lot of fun money stuff in there. We do desires and brags and celebrations, and then some other really fun money stuff there. If you want to know more about your unique design for making money, we've just created what I call the Witchpreneur Quiz, which talks about your magic and how to use your magic to make more money. And it's only 7 questions. So super, super fun. 7 questions to find out your Witchpreneur money magic. And then you can also, go to our website, juliefoucht.com. We're in the process of updating it, so it may change from day to day, but tons of stuff there, old blog articles, just lots and lots of stuff to explore. And then, of course, you can always just reach out to me.
Wonderful. And you've got a podcast. They can listen to your show.
Yes, The Art of Feminine Business, where you will be a guest. We've already recorded, so you'll be a guest coming up here fairly soon.
Wonderful. Oh, that's just great. Okay. I'll make sure to put all of these links in the episode notes so people can just find the right way, the right path for them. Thank you so much for joining me on this show. Really appreciate it. And I loved the conversation.
Oh. Thank you so much for having me. I adore talking about money. It has finding out how to be in right relationship with money has changed everything in my life. And so I really want that for others as well.
Oh, that's just great. And me too. I like this, that people get to do the thing they're meant to do that is fulfilling and satisfying for them and make good money doing it and create the life that they want to make. Wow. Thank you, Julie. So everyone, thank you for listening this week. Appreciate your time. I hope that you take away from this episode, that you save it and take it away and start to build your own relationship with money. Start that conversation. Allow the abundance to come to you. Julie has given us so many great ways of approaching it, and I know that it's going to be super valuable for you. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks again for listening today. Please hop on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Also, I would love to hear from you. Did something that I say resonate? What else would you like to learn about? Click the link in the player and leave a comment on the post. This is going to give me great ideas for future episodes so I can help you best. Join me again next week for more coaching, support, and teaching to help you become the confident coach you are meant to be. Hey, it's Candy. Did you know that I have a quiz to help coaches choose their niche? Yeah, I do. It's super popular, and it has been taken more than 20,000 times. This is a fun quiz that takes you about 2 minutes to do, and it will probably give you way more clarity on choosing your best coaching niche. So now, whether you say niche or niche, it's going to work for you. And if you're a coach and you have been stuck in niche indecision, wondering what to do, then you should take my quiz and find out what you learn. You can take the quiz today at coachnichequiz.com. That's coachnichequiz.com. Okay, let's dive into this week's episode.